Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear students. Today's our lecture is about the research thesis. Your course is the current trends in biochemistry. Research thesis, how to write a thesis, is a very important part of the research. If you have write good thesis, you can be able to the readers to be justified for your research, for your capability of performing the new invaders in the research of science. So this is a very important part of the any type of research, and also it is the dissertation which is compiled on the end of your degree, and you have to be submitted into your institute, into your university for the issuance of your degree and for the completion of your degree. Thesis may be write-up. Thesis write-up is a very easy task, but it is a very difficult for the students if they have no idea about how to write a valid thesis and how to remove the plagiarism or how to avoid the plagiarism that is present in the research thesis. Let's start with the hopefulness. Research. There are the different components of the thesis. Thesis is the whole story of the research which you have planned and which you have done. You should have to give the idea about your all the research findings in one platform. What are the different components of the research thesis? The different components of research thesis is abstract. First of all, the abstract. Second one is the introduction. Third one is review of literature. Review of literature. Fourth one is materials and methods or methodology. The next part is results, from which you can get the idea about your findings. Discussion and conclusion. And then summary. And the final part is references. References. These are all the major components of the research thesis: the abstract, the introduction, the review of literature, material and methods or methodology, results, discussions, conclusion, summary, and the references. What are the in that of major components? Some minor components of the research thesis is also, that is the table of content, table of contents, acknowledgement, declaration, list of figures, list of tables, list of abbreviations, title page, your supervisory committee, these are the minor parts of a research thesis in which you have to give the idea about the table of contents, your acknowledgements to the different institutes or the different persons which are responsible for, which are helpful for your this study to be conducted. Declaration certificate in which you have to declare that this is a novel part of your research and it would not be plagiarized with anyone else. List of figures, list of tables in which you give all the figures list at which page these figures are present and or how many figures are present in your thesis. List of tables which contains the idea about the how much tables are present in your thesis and at what pages these tables are present. List of abbreviations. The different terminologies, different abbreviations are used for the specified terminologies. So these abbreviations must to be listed in the list where you have to give the idea about the abbreviations. If you have better idea about that, you should not be give the abbreviation of even the universal things. First you have to write the full name of that and then use the abbreviation of it. And also you have to give the list of abbreviation in which you listed all the things which you have abbreviated in your research thesis. Title page, which gives the idea about the title of your research thesis, in which you have to be declared that this is the title of your thesis and your name, your registration number, and the degree in which you have completed. The supervisory page, in which you give the idea about your supervisory committee and you give the idea about the supervisor and the other persons which are responsible for the approval of this thesis in your for the study. Then in the table of contents, when you have write up all the thesis, you should have to give the idea in the table of contents. You should give the idea about the different components like abstract where is present, introduction at what page is present, review literature at what page is present, methodology at what page is present, results at what page is present, discussions are where they are conducted, different figures where they are to be present, or conclusion where is he present. So the reader have the idea to go suddenly at that page for if you have to, if he want to get some idea from your thesis. These are the different components of the research thesis. Now let's see. We have to study. We have to be elaborate these all parts one by one. Abstract is the major part of the research thesis in which you have to give the learners the idea about the whole study of you have conducted. it is in the past tense because the thesis is the declaration of the this on this topic the study is completed. So you should have to give write up in the past tense, and in the abstract you should give the idea about what is your objectives, what is you have why you choose this topic, what is the need of this need of the project, why you choose this project, and what is the objectives of your study, what you have conducted, what the methodologies you have chosen for your study, and what the findings which you have find, your major findings which is effective on the readers for your fruitfulness of your study. And also at the end you have give the conclusion of your study, what you have find actually at the end of the your dissertation to be completed. You should have to write up all these things in the abstract. It is of up to 100 to 150 words and maximum to 250 words. Not minimum than the 100 words, but or not maximum from the 250 words. And in case of the abstract, you never use the any type of abbreviation. No abbreviation is present in the abstract. No reference is present in case of the abstract, because abstract is the summarized form of your own research, not the research of the other ones. So that's why in the abstract there is no need of any type of reference to be given. It must be write up in your own words for your own study to be explained in this abstract. Then after abstract, you should have to give the introduction. Introduction is the very important part of the research thesis, because in thesis you should choose a research project and you should have to highlight all the related aspects of that project, that topic, to be illustrated through the literature in your introduction. You should have give the idea of justification of your project, how and why you selected that topic to be covered in your thesis. So introduction is the very important part of the thesis, in which you have to write up all the things which are related to the introduction. In this, the references must be written according to the different styles of the different universities. The reference style to be cited in the text of the introduction is different. In case of your university, you should have to follow the style of your university, DCUF style, which is you have studied earlier, how you can write the references in the text of the introduction or in the reference list. References must be present in case of introduction. A very good introduction for a thesis is not minimum of 3 to 4 pages and not maximum than the 10 pages. If you want, you should have to write a valid or a very much attractive introduction for your thesis. You must not be exceeded from 10 pages or not maybe minimum from the 3 pages. In 3 to 4 pages to 10 pages, you have to cover all the related matter of your study which impressed you to choose that topic to be studied in your research project. So by giving the idea about all these things, you can give the idea about the reference about the research area of the other ones which impressed you to study that topic, and this is the way from where you can be differentiate your work from the others, how it is beneficial, how it can be beneficial from the previous literature. At the end of the introduction, you should have to give the objectives of your study, which objectives you have chosen for the study of your research. It must be given at the end of the introductory part, the introduction. Next part is the next part of thesis is the review of literature. This is a very comprehensive part of the research thesis. It gives the idea about all the literature which you have studied, which you have used to create your research thesis. This gives the idea about the whole, all the matter which impress you to choose this topic to write a research thesis, to conduct a research on that topic. So you have to cover all the review of literature which is in your. In some cases, some universities use the pattern of the journal pattern of the simple abstracts of all articles to be cited in review of literature, but the valid way is to be write them in the story form, in which, just like that of introduction, you choose your specified topic parts, divided your topic into different parts, and the different parts are justified according to the review of literature in comprehensive manner. It is greater than the introduction. If the introduction is of 3 to 10 pages, then the review of literature may be 20 to 30 pages. In review of literature, definitely which articles you have cited, it must be from 5 to 10 years back from your study date. If they are more previous literature is given in the review of literature, it will give not the high quality idea about your research planning, because the things are changed day by day. So if you choose the later on material, later on literature, you should not have the idea about how now what are the new things are to be elaborated in the new one literature. So you should have always choose the review of literature only from back to 5 to 10 years. So if your study is in 2020, you can go up to 2015 or maximum up to 2010 only. Not before 2010. You should not give the reference or the literature of from 2009, because it is not valid for your research to be in the review of literature. You should have to cite the review of literatures which are up to the 5 years back or maximum up to the 10 years back only. Then they are called to be the effective ones related to your research. Next is the Methodology. Methodology. In case of methodology, you should have give all the parameters which you study in your research. Give the methods of all your parameters with references, and also give the detail of procedures which you have followed for your parameters to be analyzed according to the different references, and also you give the idea about the equipments which you have used for the conduct of that parameters or methods. And also give the idea about the selection of sampling methods, area where you have conduct your whole study, duration of your study. Next is the results. Results are actually the interpretation of your data which you get after different analysis. In case of interpretation of data, interpretation of your data, in which you have to give the idea about different analyses you have done on your data and by which data you have get, how you can interpret this data. You can interpret this data in the form of different graphs which is statistically justified, and you should have give them in the form of different types of figures, like the figures of the gel electrophoresis, or the figures of different types of your analysis which you have get. You can give your data in the interpreted your data in these forms, or you can interpret your data in the form of the different tables which are also statistically justified. Interpretation of data would be given in many manners, in many types, but if it is statistically justified, then you have a valid research. If you have justified your graphs, your figures and your tables according to the statistical analysis must be applied on them, so you can justify your results, your data according to the given method of the statistical analysis must be applied on your all results. When you give your all data to be interpreted in the forms of graphs, tables, figures, gels, grams, anything. Then you should have to discuss it. Discussion. Next part is discussion, in which you have to discuss it with the other one's results, what they are to be justified, your results, your findings to be comparison with the other results, with the other justifications of their findings. So it must contain the references, justify your findings, and results with the literature. If something in your analysis is to be higher in amount, for example, if you study the enzyme catalase and the value of the catalase activity is high in your sample as compared to the control, then you can justify it with the findings of the other literature you have to be studied. They are also give the idea about that the catalase amount is higher in them by using this the same things. Then you can justify it with the results of the others, and this justification is very important for the discussion of your results. Your discussion reflects the idea about what you have found out and what your findings are valid with the findings of the others, and how it can be compared with the other one's findings. So by knowing these discussion ideas, you can be justify your all results in elaborated form. Then after discussion, you have to give the conclusion. Your all results are come to in your hand, and you should have to be conclude your research. What you have hypothesized, what results you think so that comes out of your research, and what results come out of your research. You should have to be justified, you should have to be conclude them in your conclusion section, and also give the future prospect of your research. How can this in future, this research give the idea to the learners to how to plan the next future research on that type of topic is the part of the conclusion section. After the conclusion, which is only from it is only of 25 to 50 words. Then the next part is summary. In that part, you should have to summarize whole your study in 1 to 2 page. You summarized your objectives, you summarize your need of project, you have to summarize your results, you have to summarize your methodology, you should have to summarize your results, your findings, your discussion, and also you have to summarize in that part your conclusion and the future prospects which can be given to the other learners. Into 1 to 2 pages, the whole thesis to be summarized in 1 to 2 pages. It has no need of the references in it. No reference is required for the summary section. It would be without the summary section, would be without the references. And then after the summary, the last part of the thesis is the references, the reference list, in which you give all the references which you have used in your whole thesis, starting from the introduction, then into methodology, into review of literature, in the discussion sections, or rather in the any type of other sections where you use any type of references in your whole thesis, you should have to list them in the references section. The references is the list of the reference which are used in your whole thesis. It gives the idea about the whole literature which you have studied for your research thesis. Its style is varied from university to university. You should have to follow the style of your own university for the write up of the references. After writing up the references, you should have to you should complete your thesis. Now you should have to compile your table of contents, your list of figures, your list of tables, your list of abbreviations, and also your acknowledgement to the different institutes, to the different persons which are helpful for conduction of your research. You should have to acknowledge them, or any type of funding agency which is responsible for this type of research conduction by yourself. That's all about the research thesis. Thank you so very much, students. If you have any questions regarding this lecture, you can approach me on my WhatsApp group, or either approach me on by putting the comments in the comment section of the YouTube channel, or you can approach me on my email address. Thank you so very much, students. Allah Hafiz.